Team Canelo and Golden Boy are reported to have sent Sergey Kovalev an offer, but it is reported that it's a lowball offer to make the fight. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. Now, the rumor is that Canelo was seeking out an opportunity to fight at light heavyweight, try to get titles in a brand new division. I gave my thoughts on it. I don't really know why you would have belts at 160, multiple, unified champion at 160, have a belt at 168, a paper title for beating Rocky Fielding, and be looking at 175 when the talent pool at 160 to 68 is thick. It's very talented, right? It's talent rich. But that was the rumor, and we got confirmation that an offer was sent to Main Events and Sergey Kovalev, but in what's being reported, Kovalev's side, Main Events, Kathy Duva, Sergey Kovalev, they did not like the offer. They thought to fight Canelo, that would be a big fight, and they would be overlooking their current mandatory, Anthony Yarde. And what's being reported is that it was a lowball offer and less money than Anthony Joshua was willing to give Gerald Big Baby Miller, less money than Canelo gave Daniel Jacobs. So I don't know the exact number, the actual monetary figure, but with that in mind, if it's less than what Gerald Miller was set to make, Gerald Miller was set to make 6 to 8 million, I think. So that means it was less than that, which is pretty horrible if, this is supposed to be a big fight with Canelo and Kovalev, and he was trying to set history or whatever. So I want to give some of my thoughts. Again, this is all just what's going on. So it looks like Kovalev will likely face Anthony Yarde unless Golden Boy can come up with something and improve that plan. So I don't know if they sent a lowball offer because they weren't really interested in it. Like it made waves and the rumor got bigger and bigger. So they had to offer something up. But usually when you lowball someone, you're either trying to take advantage of them or you don't really want to fight and you want to give the appearance of you wanting to fight, i.e. Team Joshua, Anthony Joshua, sending out Wilder a $12.5 million offer for a massive, at the time, mega fight between two undefeated fighters. So I want to give some of my thoughts. My thoughts, good. I wasn't a big fan of Canelo versus Sergey Kovalev anyway, just because I don't like the fact that it undermines boxing. Like, I think people should respect weight classes, and that's not happening. People are looking to create these, sudden frenzies where there's this immense ripple in the pond, and not in a good way. You get what I'm saying? Because Sergey Kovalev was slated to fight against Anthony Yarde. That's his mandatory. I think that's a brilliant fight. I like that fight. I need to know more about Anthony Yarde. We know Kovalev's good. They're in the same division. He's a champion. Kovalev's a champion. Anthony Yarde worked his way up undefeated, in shape. Lions in the camp, and he worked his way for that spot. So why would I want to see Canelo, who really is a 160-pound fighter? I don't really put too much precedence in his fight at 168 because he fought a guy who got stopped in the first round by Caleb Smith in Rocky Fielding. So, I never rated Rocky Fielding as this talented world beater that, was going to make a lot of noise. So, that was really a cherry pick fight. It was really someone who had a belt. See, this is the problem with all the belts in boxing. There's so many belts available. It doesn't really help define the divisions and the true champions. Like back in the day, if there's less belts and there's a lot of players, then everybody has to fight for what's available. But now they have these alphabet titles, as they call them, and it becomes easier if they have these secondary belts like WBA Super Champion, but also have a WBA regular champion, or European Intercontinental WBC champion, or the interim WBC or the silver or the diamond belt. Canelo's now the franchise champion. So, it creates this kind of conundrum and paradox in the division where two guys could say, like Keith Thurman could say, I'm the WBA champion, but so can Pacquiao. It's just they're different levels, it's weird. It's almost like a Call of Duty game where you have badges, merit badges, as you advance to the levels. Like, what is a WBA super belt versus a WBA regular? How about there should be one? But in the case of Pacquiao Thurman, luckily they're fighting, in a few weeks. So that'll consolidate a belt unless they make it available for somebody else afterwards. But nonetheless, I wasn't a big fan of Canelo Kovalev. It's not a bad fight. I would watch it, but I don't like what it represents in boxing, that you could just be popular. It's like a popularity contest. You could just be popular and then target who you feel is the most vulnerable, weakest champion. Now, I'm not saying Kovalev is weak or he's not good, but out of all the light heavyweights, Kovalev has showed the most vulnerability because he has the best resume. So we've seen him fight Andre Ward twice. We've seen him fight Bernard Hopkins. We've seen him get knocked down versus Blake Caparello. He's been on top for longer than these other guys like Anthony Yard, Alexander Vodstick, Dmitry Bivol, Artur Beterbiev. So with that in mind, we also have more data to study on Kovalev. And I think Kovalev, his record shows you what it is. In his last 6 fights, he's 3 for 3. He lost 3 and he won 3. And the ones he won, the best one is obviously the Eliter Alvarez. He looked good in that fight with Buddy McGurk, and he didn't get a knockout. He just, outboxed Eliter Alvarez, versus he also had a loss to Eliter Alvarez where Eliter Alvarez really destroyed him, dropped him 3 times and stopped him. So we're talking about 2 different performances. Kovalev, it was a much needed win in a crossroads fight for him, but he's still 3 for 3. His other wins would be Igor Mikhelkin, who is unheralded, unknown, and he knocked him out, and Vyacheslav Shabransky, who Canelo spars with, Sullivan Barrera had already knocked out. But then, like I said, Eliter Alvarez dropped him, hurt him, dropped him 3 times, beat him. Andre Ward stopped him, and Andre Ward beat him again before that. So, it's very evident why they would target him as opposed to Dmitry Bivol, who, he doesn't have as much data on, and he definitely hasn't shown as many vulnerabilities based on who he's fought and whatever, maybe his talent level or whatever. And it just doesn't make sense. Anthony Yard versus Kovalev, get in the way of that fight to bring Canelo in and then pay Anthony Yard step aside money. So this makes me happy if the fight doesn't happen next. If anything, why doesn't Canelo fight Kovalev, Anthony Yard winner? Then that would mean something, because if Kovalev gets past Anthony Yard's up and coming hot contender, and he's undefeated. So if Kovalev could derail his plans and set him back, then that would be more impressive, because then he'll have the Eliter Alvarez and the Anthony Yard win. Or if Anthony Yard wins, let's see Kovalev move out the picture and then see Canelo fight Anthony Yard in his style, because Anthony Yard is big. He looks pretty big for light heavy, and he's definitely athletic, rhythmic, stuff like that. Caleb Smith has also said he would fight Kovalev, and he's already a champion at 168, and he looks like he's 6'4.5". So those are more ready-made fights to me than this freakish weight jumping and all this extra shit. And then on top of it, from the reports, Canelo's team is not even trying to pay Kovalev properly. That's just it's a waste of space, waste of time, and it'll force Canelo to fight somebody else. And I'm glad about it. And honestly, I have no interest in Canelo Triple G3, and I think that's like the likely candidate. I don't think he'll go after Caleb Smith. He looked too dangerous in his last fight with Hassan Endam. And if you look at Golden Boy and look at their moves and how they've handled Canelo, that's what it is. Like, Canelo will take a stringent test, and then they'll make sure his next fight is a Rocky Fielding or something he's familiar with. like Triple G. You know, he's already has a win over Triple G, as opposed to a unknown commodity and an undefeated style like Jamal Charlo, Demetrius Andrade. Andrade's over there with DAZN. People wanted Charlo to sign to DAZN, but what's the point if he can't even get a Canelo fight? He can't get a Triple G fight. There was no guarantee that Charlo could sign to DAZN and get those fights either. If a guy who did sign to DAZN and is a champion, and he can't even get a Canelo Triple G fight. So the walls are closing in for Canelo and Golden Boy, what they decide. I don't think the public is in as much favor of the Canelo Triple G 3 fight as DAZN may think, and the pressure is going to mount. You know, with Kovalev, if he's out of the mix, unless they improve the offer, then it's going to force Canelo to consider the other options. Hopefully he considers Andrade. He says Canelo this year says he wants to be undisputed. So what changed? What's the difference? Why not go after Andrade and Charlo now? You know, let me know what you guys think. For Kovalev, like I said, I'd rather see him fight Anthony Yarde or even a Caleb Smith, who's at 168, which is he's a big 168er, and he's right next to the division. To me, Canelo hasn't really done anything at super middleweight, so I don't know his value there. He hasn't fought Gilberto Ramirez when he was there. He hasn't fought Caleb Plant. He hasn't fought a David Benavidez. He literally fought probably the weakest champion that was available. You know, Anthony Durrell, David Benavidez, Caleb Plant, Jose Uzcategui, all these champions, Zurdo Ramirez, all these guys, James DeGale, Badu Jack, all these guys in recent memory, who obviously Andre Ward, all these guys at 168 who have been recent champions in the last few years, I would definitely rate over Rocky Fielding. So, you know, Canelo should stay at 160, clean that up, show us what he could do at the highest level of 160 with different styles, not just Golovkin. We've already seen that 24 rounds. Why do we have to have 36 rounds of it? You get what I'm saying? And like I said, I like Kovalev versus Yarde. That's a really good fight. So we'll see how it all plays out. That's the latest. Kovalev feels slighted and lowballed. So if that's the case, he'll likely go on to fight Anthony Yarde, and Golden Boy and Canelo will have to do something. And the other thing that is questionable for DAZN and Golden Boy and Canelo is Canelo unified with Danny Jacobs, which I thought was a good fight on paper, and it did 600,000 views. So who is he gonna fight? You know, who is he gonna fight? Even the Triple G fight, if he fights Triple G hasn't really done anything. I think people are kind of over it. Triple G fired Abel Sanchez, so the coined Mexican style phrase has kind of toppled and dropped off. No one really considers Triple G this, so we don't know how much of the Latino Hispanic crowd has been, kind of turned off or lost in that process with Triple G, as well as him coming off of Steve Rolls' fight. No one was really impressed from that, from what I've seen. Credible names in the boxing the boxing circles. I didn't see anyone really get up for that. I didn't see numbers come out. I didn't see these record-breaking ticket sales in the fight with Steve Rolls. So coming off of Steve Rolls' win, I don't really know how big Canelo Triple G3 would even be, aside from my own personal outlook. Let me know what you guys think. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. We working.
So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.